Dana K. White. I'm the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life, and I talk about decluttering. One of the concepts that has been transformational for me and for so many other people has been acknowledging that I have a clutter threshold. My clutter threshold is the amount of stuff that I personally can easily keep under control. If I have more stuff than I can handle, there is no hope of my house staying under control. The only way to find my clutter threshold is to declutter, to get rid of stuff until I realize one day, oh, I can do this, okay? The clutter threshold is a little ambiguous because of that, right? Like you can't predict ahead of time what it's gonna be. It's the reason why I say declutter to the container, that's the container concept. Declutter to the container first, because that is outside of you, it is definite. There are no feelings and what ifs and stuff involved in that, right? Okay, so declutter to the container first, and then if your house is still out of control, keep decluttering until you hit your clutter threshold. In this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are under my clutter threshold because of specific characteristics of that item. I know, that's a little crazy, right? Or of that situation. Here's what I mean by that. So I have this drawer. Let's see, I've got my like wooden spoons, ladles, things like that, measuring cups, tongs. I love my tongs. Some other odds and ends. This is the basics that are in this drawer, right? Everything that's in here, it's in its specific container, which my editor is like, what? Things are supposed to go into a specific one? I'm saying that because it doesn't seem like anyone else in my house knows that, but whatever. It still helps, even though they don't know that. But things go into their specific container, and the idea is that I would be able to cook right here in the middle of something and go and grab what I need, okay? Oh, I need a measuring cup. Okay, it's right there. Super easily accessible. Because of the way that I am when I'm generally on an everyday basis cooking, which is doing it pretty quickly. Like I can get a meal on the table really, really quickly, right? But I have this one item that is really difficult to get out of this space. Did you see that? Did you see how hard it was? I had to kind of jiggle around and I had to, This is under my clutter threshold because I rarely ever use this. And when I do use it, I use it when I make mashed potatoes from scratch, which is really only for, you know, special occasions, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, stuff like that, right? On those occasions, I am in this zone of I'm gonna cook all this stuff and I'm in my kitchen and it's not an everyday, I gotta get dinner on the table like that kind of a night when I use this. So therefore I can have this in a more complicated, more difficult to access place than I can my tongs I need. Okay, because I use these literally all the time to go get ice out of the ice maker. So, I know, my kids use scoops, I use tongs, whatever. But if I need my whisk, I need it right here and it's super easily accessible. I don't need to be trying to dig around and do all these different crazy things, right? Later right there, okay? So, this item can be in a more difficult to access place because of the state of mind and the situation in which I am using that item. Okay, so it can be more complicated where everyday things need to be more simple. So your clutter threshold varies, right? How do I know this? Well, I know this because I kept decluttering and I kept decluttering and I kept decluttering. I used to have so many more utensils than that. And every single time that I needed to get something out to do my everyday cooking, it was this big hassle of digging and things being stuck together and somehow attached, and which means the same thing, but you know what I mean. So I decluttered some more, and then one day realized, oh, this is not as hard as it used to be for me to cook because I can easily grab what I need. So to reach that point, declutter. But acknowledge there are situations where some things can be in a little bit more complicated of a system. So another example would be my chairs. in my office. I'm in my house right now. I did a video probably 2 something years ago, maybe 3. How long have I been doing YouTube again? I don't know. Anyway, I did a video where I talked about how I can't do throw pillows on my couch because they just always ended up on the floor. They always ended up in these random weird, it was so frustrating, got dog hair on them, and I was like, I just can't do that. But in my office, I have these 2 pretty chairs, which are primarily there to be pretty. And I'm pretty much the only person who's out there. The chairs are not big enough for my big dog to get up there. And when I have my really nice throw pillows that I absolutely adore on there, even my little dog can't get up there. Don't worry, she has plenty of other places to hang out and sleep. But that space, that area, that situation allows me to have throw pillows where I can't handle them in my house, but I can handle them in my office because it's a different function, it's a different area, okay? So what's the real moral of this story? The moral of the story is if something or if a space is making you bananas and consistently is frustrating, consistently gets out of control, have less stuff. Declutter in that space until it doesn't get out of control easily again. But it doesn't mean that you can't ever have the things that you want to have. It just means you need to acknowledge the function and how you actually act and what you do in that space and how things work, okay? Along these lines, a lot of people will ask, but my clutter threshold is different from my family's clutter threshold. My advice is that you declutter down to the lowest common clutter threshold for the space that is being used by multiple people. What I mean by this is, let's say that you have a cabinet and you have come up with an elaborate, detailed organizing system where everything has a very specific teeny tiny little place. And you are completely able, when you use that space, to get in there, see what you need, move the things around to access what you need, move everything back, and that is maintainable for you. But there are 3 other people in your family who also use this space regularly, and their clutter threshold is lower. They are not gonna, and let's just be honest, able to consistently be able to handle that system that you've put in there, that complicated system. They have a lower clutter threshold and they just need to have less stuff in there. That is the answer to my organizing woes. That is how I get my house organized and keep my house organized, is just having less stuff. That system may be too much for them. And so the answer would be to have less stuff. Less stuff, less stuff. Potentially not even a real complicated system, just so little stuff that you can see and access and put back easily what is in this space for whoever uses that space, okay? Clutter threshold does vary according to stage of life, according to the specific situation that this item would be used in. The hope in that is that declutter down to whatever stage of life you're in now, and that doesn't mean that you can't ever have more complicated systems in the future, but you want to enjoy the phase of life that you're in right now and the people that you're living in your home with right now. So the answer is less stuff until the space is easy for you to keep under control. Okay, I hope that made any sense. All right, bye. I'll talk to y'all next week.